you say you support farmers while a whole group of farmers is telling you they being left out of everything? How does that work?
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's what's happening right now. It's not one isolated decision, it's a sequence of things. It starts with the government removing the designation of socially disadvantaged farmers. Now, that might sound small to some people, right? Technical, just policy language. But that designation existed because not everybody started from the same place. Black farmers didn't start from the same place as the white farmers. Some farmers, white farmers, already had access to land, capital, and relationships for generations. Black farmers did not. White farmers could walk into a bank and get approved for loans, credit. Black farmers couldn't even get in the door. That designation was there to recognize that reality. So when you remove it, you're not just changing language, you're removing the mechanisms that allow targeted people, Black people, people of color, to reach the people who needed it the most. From that point on, everything is treated as equal on paper, whether it's equal in real life or not. And right after that, you see something else that happens. A $300 million program gets cut. A program designed to help farmers buy land, keep land, and hold on to what they built. Now, understand something. Land is not just property in farming. Land is survival. Land is generational wealth. Land is the difference between your family staying in the game or disappearing from it completely. So when that program disappears, the Trump administration is making it disappear. Ownership becomes harder for Black farmers, not for everyone equally, but for the people who already are struggling to hold on, which is the Black farmers. Then you look at the aid that's being offered, a $12 billion program announced as support for American farmers. And again, it sounds amazing until you look at how it's structured. Because if it doesn't line up with what many Black farmers actually grow, actually have on their farm, then they don't get a part of that $12 billion. So there's money on the table, but it's not built for them, the Black farmers, to access. And this is where it gets uncomfortable for a lot of people, because these farmers didn't just complain about it, they walked away from it. They rejected it. And farmers don't walk away from money when they're struggling unless the money doesn't actually solve their problems, unless the structure doesn't include them in a real way. So now you got help that exists, but it doesn't reach the people it's supposed to help. Now, look at this article. Senators call out USDA for federal rule ending discrimination protections for Black and disadvantaged farmers. Okay. Black senators demand answers from the Trump administration after it eliminated socially disadvantaged designation for farmers of color and women operators. Okay. So in here it says USDA will no longer apply race or sex-based criteria in its decision-making processes, ensuring that its programs are administered in a manner that upholds the principles of mediocrity, fairness, and equal opportunity for all participants. Okay. USD notions that its discriminatory history has been sufficiently addressed for people of color and women farmers. So they just want to take that particular provision away. They want to take this protection, this discrimination protection away, because racism is over already. Racism is done in farming. All that's over with, y'all. They all on a playing field. They all on an equal playing field, according to this administration. Okay. Then you got to tie all it together. A major farmers event at the White House happened. Okay. They had a major farmers event at the White House. Hundreds of farmers were invited. A full display of farmers, speeches and success, support and growth. And the largest group representing Black farmers in this country was not there, not included, not invited, not even part of the conversation. So now it's not just about policy, it's about access, it's about the voice, it's about who gets to be in the room when decisions are being made. Y'all Black folk wasn't even invited. They didn't even invite y'all Black folk. But then this is always people saying to us, Republicans, this Trump administration cares about Black folk. This is the stuff that I point to when I say, you can't tell me nothing about what and when. Okay? No. So now step back and look at all this together, not emotionally, just structurally, okay? You remove the designation and targeted help disappears from people of color, Black, brown, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. Targeted and women. Targeted help disappears. You cut the land program and ownership becomes harder. You design aid that doesn't match what Black, brown, Asian women, people grow, which means they can't get the aid. And then you don't invite them into the room. There was a ball or a sit-down meeting between all of these farmers and the president. And none of the Black people were there. Nobody looked around and said, where's the Black folk? Nobody looked around and said that. Nobody. They didn't even get invited. So they don't have a voice. The question then becomes simple. What exactly is left? If you can't access the programs, if the support systems are gone, if the recognition of past barriers is erased, and you're not even part of the conversation shaping what comes next, then what are you actually being included in? You ain't being included in nothing, because this is where people try to simplify it. They say, it's not about race anymore. No, you don't need to worry about race. You don't need to worry about discrimination. It's about fairness. It's about equality. It's about merit. Okay, then explain the outcomes that you're getting. Explain why access still looks different. Explain why approval rates still look different. Explain why some farmers are still saying they can't even reach the help that's being advertised. Because fairness doesn't just live in language. Fairness shows up in result. This is the systemic discrimination that we keep talking about. This is a clear case of one of those systemic discrimination. You take away something and then everybody is disadvantaged that doesn't relate on that level. You have all the advantages and the people of color and women don't get any advantages if you take away one little program. This is a discrimination protections. They're ending that. So therefore, women, minorities, colored people, all of those don't have no access to nothing. They say fairness shows up in results. That's a lie. And if the results don't change, then removing the tools that were meant to address that gap didn't create fairness. Removing those discrimination protections didn't address the gap. So it didn't create fairness. It just removed the acknowledgement that the gap is still there. And that's the part people feel. Not the speeches, not the announcement, the pattern. Because support is not something you say. It's something people can actually use. And if they can't use it, if they're not included in it, if they're not even part of the conversation shaping it, then what are they really talking about? Black folks are effectively shut out of any kind of farmer conversation from here on out. And this is a problem for Black farmers. And I see you guys in the next one.